Hey everybody.
Hi,
Hi.
we're back.
We're back. Just
You're at
us.
the library.
I
You
am
look
at the
very like
library.
librarian. That's not a Zoom
That is not a Zoom
background. That
background.
is real.
If it was a Zoom background, it'd be kind of crummy because it's
Yeah.
not, it should just be like a really cool bookcase, but no.
Yeah. It's like the
It's
reality background, what
right.
libraries actually look like behind the
Right. This is
scenes.
what we have here. Right.
Just carts full of books.
It's true. I have two big carts of books. We have
Yeah.
a lot of stuff to do. It's nice to be back though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited to get back next week
Yeah,
for
that's
my
right.
one day.
You were off
Yeah.
because you were away, and then you had to quarantine. So it's really like
Yeah.
3 weeks.
So like
now.
tomorrow, technically my quarantine's over, but I don't work till next Thursday or this
Oh, I
coming
see. So
Thursday.
it's going to be
So
like almost a month, right? That you've been out.
yeah, like 3 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. Then you should just come in tomorrow if you were really dedicated.
Well, no, it'd be Sunday actually.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
And no, I'm not. I guess I'm not that dedicated.
dedicated. That's fair. Okay, so we are going back to our roots. So long ago when we started this conversation, we were really just sharing what we were reading and watching and listening to. And so we're just going to do that today. So that's cool. You want to start, Brad? What's tickling your fancy these days?
Wow, I've been I guess consuming more lately.
Okay.
So what do you want me to talk about? Shows, books?
Anything. Start with whatever you want.
Well, I started watching the HBO reboot of Perry Mason.
Right.
Which I never watched Perry Mason. I know nothing about it,
Me
but
either.
the Michael Reese from the Americans is starring in as Perry Mason.
Yeah.
And it's like I guess is what you would call like LA noir. It's 1930s. Like he's a private detective that becomes a lawyer to like defend this person who he thinks is innocent. But I think it's really cool because one, it's an interesting story. Second of all, like the setting is really cool. Like it feels like you're back in the 1930s. I feel like they did a good job with that. And it just has an interesting storyline. That one, like it's a mystery, but there's like other weird stuff going on. Like one of the characters is basically she runs like a evangelical like church that's kind of shady, but the person who runs it does think she is like has special powers to like raise the dead. And
interesting.
Yeah, and I don't know if you've ever watched the show Orphan Black. It was like a Canadian show where this woman basically played like 5 different characters because she was all like she was cloned.
Oh.
So she's actually the evangelical preacher.
Okay.
So, and her character's super weird. And then Perry Mason's good. Like he's got issues, of course, like he's got darkness, and there's a lot about like his experience in like World War I. A lot of flashbacks to that.
It sounds really robust.
He's like the hard-boiled detective, but I don't know. I just like it. It's kind of like fitting in issues that we're kind of facing now. There's like issues with race, issues with police corruption, and
it's like 90 years ago and we're still trying to figure that out.
Basically.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean that's kind of what I like about it's made me think about. I'm just like,
yeah,
we've come far, but we're also kind of in the same issues are occurring.
Yeah.
And
it has gotten, I think it's been like very acclaimed. Like it's gotten a lot of great reviews.
Oh, really? Yeah. I actually heard someone on a podcast talk about it and made me want to watch it. So
cool. He's great, that actor, Matthew Reese.
He is great. And he's the fact that he's Welsh, he's playing like an American guy, like his accent is like spot on.
Totally convincing. Yeah. Well, something I'm watching that I have to give like a little pre-story to is that I have zero, maybe less than zero if that's possible, interest in basketball. No interest whatsoever. Never watched a game. I've never been to a game of basketball. I played intramural basketball in 5th grade, and that's my last interaction with basketball whatsoever.
Okay.
But I heard that the ESPN documentary about Michael Jordan, The Last Dance, was so good. And I am watching it and loving it. It's 10 hours, 10 episodes of basketball, and I'm loving it. It's so well done and so interesting. And because I was never plugged into his career. I mean, I'd certainly heard about him and I want to be like Mike and his shoes and all of that stuff, but I knew nothing about the Chicago Bulls. I knew nothing about, Scottie Pippen and Kobe Bryant and Karl Malone, who I did have a crush on years ago.
Karl Malone, yeah.
Karl Malone, I just liked him.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
No, I like Karl Malone.
Yeah, so it is a really compelling documentary. I mean, they did the O.J. Simpson documentary that I loved like a year or two ago.
Yeah.
So they're really good. I can't believe I'm watching 10 hours of a basketball documentary. So that says something.
Yeah, I would like, that's kind of on my list to watch.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge basketball. I mean, back then I didn't really watch. I think mostly because Pittsburgh didn't have a basketball team. I never really got into it.
Yeah.
I mean, I did play basketball when I was younger. I like basketball, but Michael Jordan's an interesting guy, regardless of what.
Yeah.
And like, have they gotten to the part about his dad and his
I
murder
just watched
and
that
everything?
episode. I must have completely missed that piece of news. I never heard that.
I remember when it happened, but then it kind of like, I don't remember the follow-up to it.
Yeah.
And I had just listened to a podcast about that murder, which was very interesting.
Interesting.
The same podcast where I heard about Perry Mason. So
what's this podcast?
It's My Favorite Murder.
Oh, right. You've talked about that before.
Tara's a huge fan. So
yeah.
When we go on road trips, we listen to it.
Okay.
And it's a really good podcast, actually.
I've heard about it. Yeah. I've heard about it. Yeah, it's fascinating. It's just a fascinating documentary, and he's fascinating, and the journey of the Bulls at that time, like from like 84, I guess is when he started playing, until like 98. And they go back in time, and lots of good interviews, and it's funny and it's weird and interesting. So yeah, it's really good. I actually can't wait to watch it every evening.
Yeah.
I get another hour. So
that's cool.
And
like
briefly for like 7 minutes, maybe I thought, I wonder if I could be a basketball fan, but then it faded.
It's back. The NBA just started. They're playing in like the same, like at Disney World.
Yeah, that's right.
Kind of interesting. I kind of checked out a game last night. They have, instead of fans, they have like people on Zoom that got voted, and they're like on their screens. Like,
oh, that's fun. I didn't see that. That's very fun. That's a good alternative, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was what I was watching. I think I just have 2 books and then some music.
Oh, okay, cool. This is interesting.
Yeah, so in case I don't get to talk about both books, I'm going to talk about the more interesting one, which is a memoir-ish by Diane Keaton of Annie Hall fame, who wrote a book called Brother and Sister, and it's about her brother, who, I think was just like a classic black sheep in the family and really had a hard time. And I guess the 3 siblings were just very different from him, or he was very different from them. Just really struggled in his life in a lot of ways. And I have a brother who is that person in our family. And so it's been really compelling to read and cool, because I mean, my brother and her brother are different, but similar kind of struggles as a sister to kind of figure out how to support and love that kind of person. So it's really good. It's not too long either, so it's pretty short, but I'm just loving it. She's a great writer.
Yeah, purchasing that book, like the reviews on it were, like they were very like, they loved it basically, like how good of a book it was.
Yeah.
And how like, it's like not like your normal Hollywood memoir. It actually gets into some stuff, right?
It isn't. So. My lights just went off because they are timed.
That's cool.
Sorry, now it's dark in here. It's moody.
I think they came back on, or no? Oh, your camera adjusted. You're fine.
I mean, I have my lights on, but not the big one. Anyway.
We're environmental friendly at the media chat here.
That's right. We don't need that light.
This is all natural light in here. There's no electricity.
Yeah, I'm not so close to windows, but yeah, it's a great book. I highly recommend it. It's a really interesting story about her and her family, and I didn't know anything about her growing up. So, yeah, it's good. What are you reading?
Well, actually, I just started a reading book that I learned about at the diversity conference.
Nice.
It's by this Vietnamese immigrant. Well, yes, he is an actual immigrant. But it's called Psy, like as an Sigh, gone. But like
Okay.
he's from Saigon, so.
Okay. So it's a
But it's
play
about
on
his basically like his childhood growing up in Carlisle, PA, where he was like the only Vietnamese person.
Oh yeah,
And
Carlisle.
like his family kind of like got out in the 1975 like evacuation of South Vietnamese refugees.
Uh-huh.
And they were basically, what the American government did is set up like at like army bases where they had like, they came and they like hung out, or you know what I mean? Like it's not an internment camp. Like they set them up as like a refugee camp, and then like families sponsored them.
Mm-hmm.
And they sort of like dispersed them around the country. But where he was in Pennsylvania, the army base, and then he went to Carlisle, and then his parents got jobs and they just stayed there.
And we all know the only great thing about Carlisle is it's like a big spot where you get on different huge roads. Like it's an interchange.
Right. And like the turnpike, and he just talks about, he read like in his little talk, he read, well, there's other people there too, but he read like an excerpt from his book, and it was really interesting. It was about meeting this, like his family meeting like this Vietnam vet in the like grocery store there in like the 80s, and like their like interaction, and how it was just like, and then his little brother asking questions, you know, about like, why is this guy asking us where we're from? Like, why does, like, I'm an American, like his brother was born there, and he was like trying to explain that to him at like his young age too. Yeah. And but it also, he has an interesting life. He's a tattoo artist. He's like a classics literature teacher. Okay. He's like really into like punk rock, which is interesting too. Yeah. His name is Phuc Tran.
Okay. Did you get the book at the library? Sorry.
I got it from Libby.
Okay,
the audiobook.
Awesome. So it was on Overhead.
I got the audiobook. The ebook has a lot of holds on it. So
cool.
But I just started reading it, and it's good. It's interesting.
I've written it down. That sounds really good.
And also, like being from Pennsylvania, like my brother lives out that way. Like I mean, obviously we're from Pennsylvania, but like Carlisle, like I kind of know about, like sort of in that same area, and it's interesting to me, like, first of all, the differences between Western PA and Eastern PA, and just like the people that live out there are very conservative, like Amish kind of people. So
there's like Philly, then there's big middle part, and then there's Pittsburgh, and that big middle part is kind of interesting and curious. Yeah. We're reading in our book club. We're reading a great Vietnamese immigrant story called "The Best We Could Do." It's this great graphic novel. Yeah, so I'm going to be interested in that, and so maybe I can recommend that as like a follow-up additional reading to the group. So
yeah, it's like, I mean, it just came out this year, so he's like, you know, I released a book in a pandemic. That might not have been the best idea.
Or like maybe it was lots of.
He was a really like interesting, like funny guy. Like I just found him, like he just seemed like a cool guy that you'd want to meet. So I was like,
that's awesome. So from the diversity train, we all went to this diversity forum. As part of University of Pittsburgh, and just this week, and it was great. Eye-opening. So I have some music to recommend. This is new to me music, and it's kind of out of my norm that I listen to, so that's why it's kind of fun to recommend. The band is called the Airborne Toxic Event.
I know of them, yes.
Do you?
Tara, my partner Tara is a big fan.
Okay, and I just heard of them recently, like on YEP. And I feel like they're kind of Depeche Mode-y. I don't know if you know Depeche Mode, but
I do.
I feel like they've got a little bit of Depeche Mode in them, and so it reminded me. I was kind of punk in high school, and I've gotten away from a lot of that music, and I was like, oh, that reminds me of like some of the music I used to listen to, like The Cure. I mean, they're really not like that, but so I was really intrigued by them, and I'm enjoying this album that they just came out with. I can't remember. Is it
a new album? Yeah,
it is.
I remember they came out, and I think in like 2000. I want to say like 2013, 2012. I remember Tara. Like their first album didn't have a Depeche Mode feel to me. I haven't listened to the new one.
Okay, I've only. I know they have a couple.
They were more like wow. I mean, some of their songs had like that 80s feel. I thought, but some of it was like, I'd say like, I don't know what you really call it, but like rocky folk music. I would say like Bruce Springsteen kind of.
Maybe that's why
they had that feel.
Yeah, like I like
Yeah.
that stuff, and then it has a little bit of Depeche Mode thrown in. The
It's
song that I'm loving is called "Come Out," which sounds very Depeche Mode-y, but
okay.
yeah, they're fun. It's a crazy band name.
Yeah, it's from a book, actually,
Oh,
a
okay.
Don, I think it's Don DeLeo.
Oh, Don DeLeo. Okay.
Yeah, DeLeo, I don't know how to say that.
Oh yeah, he's
It's from his like White Noise book,
oh, all right,
which
which I've never read.
I looked it up when Tara told me, and I was like, how did they get that name?
And
Thanks
you're like,
to,
I need to know. That's
yeah,
the
I was like,
librarian in you.
yeah. I mean,
Well, oh, sorry. Do you have one more? We have time for one.
I
What
have
else do you?
so much more,
I know. I
actually.
always do too.
But I'm not sure where to go. I think I'll do the one that's not fiction, but the I'll Be Gone in the Dark documentary that's also on
Nice.
HBO.
Okay.
And
That's making me wish I had HBO. I don't have it.
it's really good.
Yeah.
I'm you've read the book, I'm sure,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And I mean, it talks a lot about what's in the book, but it's so far like more, and I know the book's a lot about that too, like her journey
Right.
through like her true crime
Yeah.
obsession and her life. But it talks a lot about her life and like some issues and just like, but it also like seeing photos and talking to like seeing like the people that she worked with in the book talk about her and just seeing them and
Yeah.
how much this like, and some of the victims talking like,
Yeah. Certainly would bring
I
it
mean,
to
just,
life. But the
yeah,
book,
I don't
the
know,
book was so
if
good.
our listeners know about, yeah, and I feel like it has that same, like I'm not a huge true crime fan,
Yeah.
but this book to me was different because it was more like true crime from the like creative nonfiction side of
Yeah.
writing,
It was
you know,
really
more
good.
like in cold blood
Yeah.
than I don't know, and
I have to
or
say,
whatever. So
when I read that book, I was scared, like kind of horror movie scared at night.
yeah,
I mean, and obviously I don't like have anything right at hand to be afraid of, but it put me on edge, that book. I mean, it's still really good. It was just, I remember being like a little bit scared.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, she's like that at times,
Yeah.
and you kind of feel you feel that like unease a
Yeah.
lot in the documentary, and just hearing her, and it's good to see interviews, hear her talk,
Yeah.
like see her as a person, because like I mean you kind of feel like know her as a person from the book, but and
Right.
also Patton Oswalt's in it a lot, talking about her and her family, talking about her,
Right. So
and
this
like
is
how
the
sad her
author.
passing was.
This is the
Yes,
author, and then she died before the book was finished.
yes,
And
and
then
then
before the crime was solved. The crimes were solved.
yeah,
Yeah.
and now it's, I think there's one more episode. Now it's getting into like what's happening now-ish,
Mm-hmm.
like after they, I mean, spoiler alert, they catch the guy. I'm sure everybody
Yeah.
knows about that
I
by
mean, I
now.
think that made the news. Yeah.
But
So,
that doesn't matter really
yeah.
if you know that ahead of time. It's still
No.
very interesting. And
Yeah. It's
so
great too because they caught the guy because of her work. I mean,
yeah.
so yeah, it's fascinating.
And I think it's interesting too, like from the law enforcement side, like the people that caught her, the people that she worked with were like forensic science. Like these are scientists. They're
Yeah.
not police officers. And
Right.
it's kind of even talking like, I mean, you could kind of see like maybe moving like crime solving to more of that kind of thing, as
Right.
opposed to like,
The police.
yeah, like, I mean, they're policemen, but
Yeah.
they're scientists. Like what they
Right.
do is they look at
Yeah.
evidence as opposed to like arresting people because they need a, well,
Right.
we won't go off on that,
It's a
but
whole
like,
different
yeah,
thing. Yeah. But that sounds great. It's probably worth getting HBO for both Perry Mason and for that documentary. I wish I had
uh
it.
yeah, I mean, I wasn't sure I would like Perry Mason, but I think it's really good.
Yeah.
And
I
I've
love
been kind of
HBO. They do good stuff.
talking and not being a crime fan, like everything I've kind of been watching
It's
right now.
crimey.
Yes.
I love true crime, so that's great.
Yeah.
But well, this is awesome. I think what I'm going to try to do, which I should have done from the very first episode, is list the things we talk about in the notes for the
Okay.
episode. So, and then the next 2 weeks I'll be gone. See
Yeah.
ya. I'm going
You'll be
on
gone in the
vacation.
dark.
Gone in the dark. Right. Hopefully not as tragic as that story.
Yeah.
And Brad is going to have some guest co-hosts that won't be as
That's
cool
the
as
plan.
me, but they'll be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so have fun with that, and I'll see you when I get back. I'll be all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and refreshed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
vacation.
All right,
And it's an
bye.
actual vacation, right? Not
It is
like,
an actual, we're going to Lake Erie. I mean,
oh, you're in the Lake Erie now.
we're going to Lake Erie. We had to change our plans because, well, it doesn't matter. But yeah, so we pivoted and we're going to Lake Erie. It's going to be great. So bye, everyone.
Bye.